Now let's learn about the classification of the IP address on basis of public and private. Public IPs assigned by inter-NIC that are guaranteed to be locally unique to the internet. Private IPs, and here is an example of private IPs. Now let's discuss about them. A public IP is assigned to every computer that connects to the internet, and each IP is unique. So the user has no control over the public IP address that is assigned to the computer. The public IP address is assigned to the computer by the ISPs, that's the internet service providers, as soon as the computer is connected to the internet gateway. Now let's discuss about the private IP addresses. An IP address that is considered private if the IP number falls with one of the IP address ranges reserved for private networks such as local area network or the LAN, as shown in the diagram below. The Internet Assigned Numbers or Authority, the IANA, has reserved the following three blocks of the IP address space for private networks, or we can say local networks. Private IP networks are used for numbering the computers in a private network, including home, school, and business LANs in airports and hotels, which makes it possible for the computers in the network to communicate with each other. Now let's discuss about the IPs on the basis of class. So the class A, it is the first bit of the first octet is always set to 0. Thus the first octet ranges from 1 to 126. The default subnet mask is 255.0.0.0. The IP range 127 is reserved for loopback IP addresses. And now it's time to discuss about the class B. An IP address which belongs to class B has the first two digits of the first octet set to 10. For example, the IP address range is 128.0 to 191.255, and the default subnet mask is 255.255. Number 3. The class C. The first octet of class C IP address has its first three bits set to 110, 192.0.0 to 223.255.255, and the default subnet mask is 255.255.255. Class D. Very first 4 bits of this first octet is class D IP addresses are set to 1110, giving a range of 224.0.0.0 to 239.255.255. Class D has an IP address range as shown in the figure. Class D is received for multicasting. In multicasting, data is not destined to a particular host. This is why there is no need to extract host address from the IP address, so class D does not have a subnet mask. Class E. This IP class is reserved for experimental purposes only for R&D or study. IP addresses in this class range from 240.0.0.0 to 255.255.255.254.